Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Hamas and Fatah unified in respect of this two-state structure, and they formed a national consensus government. Israel does not want this government to make progress. They want to break it up. And in fact, they told this to Mr. Abbas. Mr. Abbas says, "This is the pressure that is applied on me." And he told us this very clearly and openly. Israel is disturbed of a unification here. This is what primarily lies under the problem behind these current attacks.
All right, folks, that's the Prime Minister of Turkey. Seems to be one of Barack Obama's good buddies, but not many others seem to care for him. He compared Israel to the Nazis. And by the way, he received an award from the American Jewish Congress, who now want that award back. Joining us now to talk about all of this is Hisham Melhem, Washington Bureau Chief of Arabiya News Channel. Hisham, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about it with the news that Israel's cabinet rejected the ceasefire proposal by John Kerry. Where are we headed here? How is all this going to end?
In the end, there will be a ceasefire, unfortunately, after too many people dying on both sides. And again, unless we resolve the underlying political issues, in a year or two, maybe three, you and I probably will be talking about the latest Israeli-Palestinian conflict or round of fighting. Look, the administration, the Barack Obama administration tried, particularly Secretary Kerry, led an intensive efforts in the last 9 months to reach some sort of an accommodation between the Palestinians and the Israelis. He was negotiating, obviously, with Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, and he got nowhere. And essentially, he somewhat blamed the Israeli government and the settlement the continuing settlements. I think the administration, any American administration, because cannot ignore this conflict. And when we ignore this conflict, radicals on both sides exploit it. And what makes this current fighting so disturbing for the region and for the long-term U.S. interest in the Middle East is the fact that it's taking place against the background of a deterioration throughout the region. It's not an exaggeration to say that from Basra on the Persian Gulf to Beirut on the Mediterranean, from Aleppo in the north to Alexandria in the south, the whole region is sliding towards conflagration. And that's what makes this current fight between the Hamas and the Israelis very disturbing. And I think part of it is that the United States did not really push very hard to settle some of these underlying issues, not only among the Palestinians and the Israelis, but throughout the region, particularly the conflict in Syria. And now we have the threat of these incredibly atavistic, reactionary Islamist forces like the ISIS and others that are, forcing the administration to move in Iraq in particular, at a time when now we have this explosion in Gaza. In the end, you have to resort to diplomacy. There is no military solution to this conflict. The Israelis will tell you that, and wise Palestinians will tell you that. Unfortunately, now we have, an incredible amount of violence taking place. And there will be a ceasefire because the Israelis will realize that they cannot occupy Gaza again. They don't want to occupy Gaza again. And you're not going to eradicate Hamas. Not that the Hamas represents the best among the Palestinians. I happen to disagree with their ideology and their views. And I think one way of undermining the political influence Hamas is to do it by helping and strengthening the Palestinian moderates. This is going to be a fight among the Palestinians as to who is going to lead the movement. Recently, we've had a national unity government where not a single member of Hamas was in this new cabinet. And I think the United States accepted that government, and I think the Israelis should have given it a chance, again, to help the moderates, to undermine Hamas. Hamas was on the ropes. Hamas was bankrupt financially in every way.
Then if
this conflict is going to enhance them.
But Hisham, if that's the case, if Hamas was on the ropes and they were bankrupt, why did the moderates, as you call Abbas's government, Fatah, which I don't view as moderates, I view them as Yasser Arafat with suits, why on earth did they put them in a unity government and rescue them?
look, I mean, because the negotiations, led to nowhere.
So they reach out to Hamas, the organization sworn to the annihilation of Israel, and then Israel's supposed to support that government?
No, look, it's, as I said, there are Israelis who don't accept the Palestinians, and there are Palestinians who don't accept the Israelis. I mean, if you want to talk about the fringe...
But that's not true. That's not true. Abbas will not recognize Israel as a Jewish state. Their two-state solution is two Palestinian states. Current-day Israel, overrun by a so-called... Wait, let me just finish. The current-day Israel, overrun by Palestinians through so-called right of return, and a new Palestinian state. Two Palestinian states. That's the Palestinian vision of a two-state solution.
Look, the Palestinian Authority, which is recognized by the United States and by most of the international community, accepted a two-state solution, recognized Israel's right to exist.
But not as a Jewish state, sir.
Wait a minute. I mean, if you want to reinvent your history, I'll invent, let's not continue this discussion. Let me be blunt with you. Only a few years ago, the Israelis added the Jewish state to this recognition. The Israelis decide themselves if they want to call Israel a Jewish state or a Christian state or a nihilistic state. That's not the issue.
No, sir. Israel was founded as a Jewish state. The purpose of Israel was to give Jews a place to go. So you're saying it's not important? You're saying this is something Israel came up with?
This is not something the Palestinians will decide. This is something the Israelis can call themselves a Jewish state, and we call them, when we refer to them in the Arab media or whatever, we call them, like everybody else, a Jewish state. The Palestinians recognize a state that was born in 1948. That's it. And then the issue of right of return, and the issue of settlements, the issue of refugees, the issue of the future of Jerusalem, this is left for final negotiations.
This will never happen. This will never happen without the recognition, verbally and in writing, of Israel as a Jewish state. Now, George W. Bush insisted upon that. It was only John Kerry and this anti-Israel Obama administration who said recently, you're making too big a deal about calling it a Jewish state. I don't think Israel will ever feel that that's too big a deal, sir, with all due respect.
If you want to have a conversation...
I am, but I'm free to tell you what I think, too.
If you want to throw at me Israeli propaganda position, let's end the conversation now.
Well, then let's end the conversation, sir. Okay. If you consider Israel wanting to be a Jewish state as Israeli propaganda... Put him up. As Israeli propaganda... I think that's a radical position, sir. All right, he's gone. He's gone. I guess I guess it was too much to have a civilized conversation. This is huge. I mean, that he would walk off because I'm insisting that, as the Israeli government insists, and this isn't relatively new toward as far as when. Oh, you're back, sir?
No, I don't want to come back. This is ridiculous. You're talking Israeli propaganda. You want to waste my time?
I'm talking Israeli propaganda by saying that Israel needs to be recognized as a Jewish state.
Serious discussion. That's all.
Goodbye. Then go, sir. With all due respect, go. All right, let's wipe him off the screen, please, and not keep him off. Okay, he wants to go. We respect that. Go. But it's hardly Israeli propaganda. He's telling me Hamas was on the ropes. Hamas was dying financially and otherwise, and then the group he describes as moderate, Abbas and the Palestinian Authority, rescues Hamas by putting them in a unity government. But it's okay because no Hamas members are in the cabinet. And I'm spewing propaganda by simply stating that the Palestinians' idea of a two-state solution is two Palestinian states. They insist on the right of return. Yes, it'll be negotiated, but they openly say they have to have a right of return. That would overrun Israel as we know it today with Palestinians, and Israel would lose its foundation as a Jewish state. Then there'd be another Palestinian state created. So you'd have two Palestinian states. Now, if Hisham can't understand and is acting as if he's never heard this from anybody but Israel, that Israel needs to be accepted as a Jewish state, that's Israeli propaganda. He also referred to radicals on both sides or extremists on both sides. The Palestinians teach their kids to kill the Jew. Jews are monkeys. We'll take Jerusalem with their blood. I defy you, sir, to find where Israel teaches their children to hate. I defy you. In their textbooks at school, on their television, state-run television shows, I defy you to show me that. I mean, again, that's why you see in the media what you see in the media. I'm disappointed that he wanted off. I'm really disappointed that he wanted off. He can't handle me? He can't handle me? The Washington bureau chief of Arabiya News Channel can't handle me? And what did I say that was propagandist? That Israel needs to be recognized as a Jewish state? That's so radical? That's so full? That's from the propaganda of Israel? My goodness. I expected much better from him. Much better. He disappointed me. Give Me 5 is next, folks, on the Steve Malzberg Show.